Well, hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Ashmit Kumar, and here are the headlines that we're tracking this evening. Sharp cuts on Dalal Street. Sensex Nifty declined by 1% after a broad-based sell-off. Mid-caps get battered with the index losing 2%. The CNBC-TV18 exclusive, Vodafone Idea may opt for a combination of follow-on public offer and preferential share allotment to promoters to raise up to 20,000 crore rupees via the equity route. The stock tanks 14% in trade. Apple to halt its decade-long secretive efforts to build an electric car, reassigns the employees to AI-related projects. Tesla chief Elon Musk reacts to the development with the saluting face emoji on X.
The long-term plan for us is to establish Ikea in all big cities and then expand in an omni-channel context in India so we can reach as many people as possible.
Ikea's global CEO Jesper Brodin lays out an ambitious plan for the India operations over the next 10 years. Tells CNBC-TV18 that the Swedish furniture maker will finalize the next phase of its Indian investment before the end of 2024. Adds that the company is keen on ramping up exports from India, but wants the government to ensure India's quality standards are aligned to global benchmarks. The Congress government in Himachal Pradesh hangs in the balance after internal rebellion. Chief Minister Sukhwinder Singh Sukhu says that he will keep fighting as the BJP threatens to move a no-confidence motion. NMDC reports an accident in Chhattisgarh, says that 4 contractual workers died after rock formations on the hillside at a construction site collapsed. Adds that 2 workers were injured and under treatment at the NMDC hospital. Hamas leaders downplay U.S. President Biden's claim of a potential truce in Gaza by Monday. Israel claims to have struck 8 targets overnight. A UN official says that more than 500,000 people in Gaza are on the brink of a famine. Qatar accuses Israel of deliberately starving the Palestinians. Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump edge closer to a rematch, win their respective party primaries in Michigan. Trump seals his 5th straight win in primaries, moves closer to a Republican nomination. The United Kingdom confers an honorary Knighthood on Bharati's Sunil Mittal. He is the first Indian citizen to receive this honor. Well, let's begin with a quick look at the day's market action. Dalal Street saw some sharp cuts as Sensex Nifty declined by 1% after a broad-based sell-off ahead of the monthly expiry. Broader markets underperformed with 80% of mid-cap index stocks closing lower and the index losing 2%. Meanwhile, PSU companies also saw some sharp cuts with that index slipping 2% as well. Surbhi Upadhyay joining us now with a quick wrap of the day's market action. Surbhi.
Well, a shakeout is what the street got once again today. A big trending down day with all of the key benchmark indices pretty much ending at the day's low. So we're talking about a cut of over 1% on the Nifty, the Bank Nifty losing almost 1.5%. But the real headline was a selling that came through in the broader market, the mid-cap index and the small-cap index, both of which were nursing losses of over 1.5%. In fact, the mid-cap index, closing down almost 2%. So this was, the extent of the broader market fall was such that by the time we closed out, we actually had only 300 stocks advancing and almost 2,000 stocks on the red side of the screen. So that was the extent of the decline that we saw today. While there were no specific reasons or triggers, the market did take note of a letter that the Mutual Fund Association sent to its members saying that mutual funds must guard investors against any possible volatility or additional risk that's building up in the mid-cap and small-cap side. Remember, it is mid-cap and small-cap funds that have been pulling in the lion's shares of the flows. And when we spoke to some asset managers, they said that at individual AMC level, perhaps there could be more curbs in terms of the kind of money these funds are drawing in and more risk mitigation sort of efforts in terms of rebalancing. So that was something that was keeping traders on the edge today. But to come back and talk about what fell, well, short point, almost everything. So PSU stocks were losing ground. Auto was a big red sector today. A lot of the large cap auto stocks were down. Real estate was weak. Just a case in point, I mean, if you're talking about large PSUs and stocks like Coal India, BPCL, Power Grid, all trending lower. On the auto side, there was Maruti, M&M, Bajaj Auto, you name it. They were all down and out. If you were expecting help from the heavyweights, it wasn't really coming because large banks had their own issues. As I told you, the Bank Nifty was down 1.5%. So ICICI, SBI and the likes were all down. Reliance decided to play for the bears today, down almost 2.5% as we were closing out. And there was really nothing on the green side, barring one or two of the large IT names like TCS or Infosys. There was a lever, which was a bit of a lone ranger, not able to counter the force of the selling that we saw today. Well, going forward, what we've seen in the past is that these shakeouts don't last too long, but it's very difficult to say whether this will repeat. This pattern will repeat every single time. The market really had a big fight around the 20 DMA on the Nifty. So we need to see if the index can sustain above that come tomorrow. And remember, tomorrow, internationally, the big event is the US inflation number that will come out and set the tone for global markets and then for us as well.
Right, Surbhi, thanks a lot for that. Now, here's a CNBC TV18 exclusive. Vodafone Idea's 20,000 crore rupee fundraise via the equity route is likely to be a combination of a follow-on public offer and a preferential issue. Sources tell us that Aditya Birla Group's promoter entity may infuse funds through a preferential allotment of shares. However, brokerage skepticism about the anticipated fund infusion weighed on the stock. Nisha Poddar joining us now with more details. Nisha.
Vodafone Idea in its board meeting on 27th of February has approved 20,000 crore rupees of equity fundraising, which will be put to shareholders' vote in an extraordinary general meeting on 2nd of April. Now, we gather from sources with direct knowledge that Vodafone Idea is seriously considering the launch of a follow-on public offer or an FPO to raise a large part of this fund. We also gather that the promoter entity of Aditya Birla Group is likely to infuse capital by way of preferential allotment of shares in this fundraising exercise. So a combination of larger part from FPO as well as pref allotment to the promoters. A combination of this is likely to be raised by Vodafone Idea to meet the 20,000 crore rupees of equity funding requirement. Now, we reached out to Vodafone Idea as well as Aditya Birla Group for comments. We haven't received any. You will remember that Vodafone Idea had stated that promoters are willing to pump in up to 2,000 crore rupees in the company. That was in August last year. Now, the stock has taken a dip because of the lack of a definitive plan on the fundraising by the company. And remember that a similar enabling resolution was taken in September 2020, as mentioned by some analyst reports, and that did not go anywhere, and the company struggled to find equity investors. So that is a concern coming out in the market. But the thinking from the company side, as sources indicate who have a direct knowledge, is that with the promoters pumping in money and on the other hand a strong expectation of a telecom tariff hike later in this year are likely to be the reasons why all institutional as well as retail and HNI investors would like to probably take a bet on Vodafone Idea's FPO plans.
Right, Nisha, thanks a lot for that. Now, Ikea's global CEO Jesper Brodin has laid out an ambitious plan for company's India operations over the next 10 years. In an exclusive conversation with Shireen Bhan, Ikea's global CEO Jesper Brodin said that the Swedish furniture maker will finalize the next phase of its Indian investment before the end of 2024. The Ikea chief added that the company is keen on ramping up exports from India, but wants the government to ensure that India's quality standards are aligned to global benchmarks. Take a look.
We need to be in prime location. We need to also build it in a certain flow so that it enables for people to find what they need to find. And the Mumbai store that we recently closed was one of those where we basically weren't in a hot spot enough. So I wouldn't say, these smaller stores are quite, they are smaller decisions for us because of course the investments is very small compared to Noida and Gurgaon. But I'm sure that we're going to continue to find ways also in India to establish smaller stores.
So by when do you think you'll be ready to make the announcement or be clear about the next leg of your investments?
So unfortunately, time is up now. No, I can promise you that my team will come back to you within this year, at least. And then I'm conservative to say, here are the new numbers that we are willing to share. Again, we have a couple of discussions points with officials and with representatives of governments to make sure that we gain enough confidence to say we are ready to take the next step of investment.
Ikea has, of course, been using India to procure for your export markets for many, many years now. Take me through what you see on that front over the next 5 to 10 years. Using India to make for the world.
I understand. No, but I think, first of all, I'm very optimistic about the prospect. There are a couple of puzzle pieces that we also need to work together, government and big companies, in order to make it happen. It's not only an opportunity that can happen, but it will happen. And the question is more, how soon can we make it happen? Today, Ikea sources about 30% of the sales already in India. And remember, India is still, retail-wise, we are still in the beginning only.
Yeah.
It will also be good for the long run, of course, for India to be taking a share in the export industry, where today India is not, I think, represented in the right levels. The Indian government has an ambition of $2 trillion for export, and we would like to offer our competence, our markets outside India, but also, of course, the growth that we are building within India to be part of that change. And in order for that to happen, I think one of the most important topics right now is to get together the quality control order question right. So in the endeavor of setting a harmonized landscape of requirements for products, that needs to be set in a way so that we, the industry in total, actually can fulfill the demands, fulfill it without adding unnecessary cost to the customers, and make sure that it's also harmonized for the export. And this is one of the things that we are now. We are on one hand appreciated to be actually part of the dialogue, but it's also one of our worry points right now. How do we make this happen so we actually harmonize for export and make sure that we are capable to deliver?
Well, from one global leader to another, Microsoft founder Bill Gates met Odisha Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik today after arriving in the state last night. Gates also visited the Ma Mangla Basti in Bhubaneswar and interacted with beneficiaries of government welfare schemes. Gates has said that he will meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi to discuss how India's innovations can reach public who need them the most. The philanthropist is in India to assess the progress of various social initiatives, of which the Gates Foundation is also a partner. And more trouble for Byju's. The company law tribunal has issued a notice to the company in a plea filed by US-based lenders. The Glass Trust, which represents nearly 100 US-based lenders, claimed that Byju's acted as a guarantor for its $1.2 billion loan to the company's US subsidiary. Glass also said that Byju's has not responded to notices sent by the company. We also reached out to top players from the edtech space to understand if the crisis at Byju's would have any ripple effects across the sector. Take a look.
One company does not define the ecosystem. There were many things that did not go out well with that one organization, but that should not mean that the entire ecosystem is painted under the same brush. Having said that, in today's sort of context, will there be an impact of the poster child? Yes, of course. But as an organization, we are not bothered about that. We are bothered about what we are working on, what we are building right now.
It has a mixed impact on industry, so Byju being the leader of the industry for a good amount of time, and they have some tough time right now, so that will create some perception in the VC world or LP world. And there are companies, and there are good times, there are bad times. I wish them they recover from the current crisis and come back stronger.
Meanwhile, SpiceJet has settled its 250 crore rupee dispute with aircraft lessor subsidiary Celestial Aviation. The case will be formally withdrawn on the 1st of March. Both the companies have informed the NCLT bench about the settlement. The airline recently raised funds amounting to a little more than 1,000 crore rupees from marquee investors. Part of these funds will be used to pay off past liabilities. And tech giant Apple is winding up its electric vehicle project called Titan after 10 years of investments and experimentation. This puts a stop to the company's efforts at building a car that competes with Tesla and other EV makers. Elon Musk reacted to this development with a saluting face emoji on social media platform X. The decade-long program employed nearly 2,000 employees, and many of them will now be transitioning to the company's AI division. The exact number of layoffs, however, following this decision remains uncertain. Project Titan was an ambitious project that began in 2014, working to develop a fully automated EV. However, it faced several leadership challenges. Moreover, Apple's decision comes at a time when there is an overall lull in the EV market, with sales slowing down due to higher prices after reduced subsidies. A lack of charging infrastructure and hidden costs of EVs related to damage and collision. Major automakers including General Motors, Tesla, Renault and Ford have also scaled back on their EV push and slashed production targets. The companies will now be focusing more on production of hybrid vehicles in the near term. Meanwhile, the proposed EV deal between JSW Group and auto giant Volkswagen may be a 50-50 joint venture. That's what sources have been telling Money Control, that both these entities are currently in talks at ironing out the final contours of this deal. Pavan is joining us now with more details. Pavan, give us a sense what your sources telling you.
Hi. So basically what we have been able to gather is that the proposed partnership between Volkswagen and JSW will be a 50-50 joint venture between both the companies, and the entity will be focusing on electric vehicle segment. So this is a win-win situation for both the companies, since both of them have been looking for partners to team up with. And also we have to remember this is a deal that is separate from JSW's already ongoing deal with MG Motors, where they are exploring another collaboration.
Right, Pavan, thanks a lot for joining us with that input. Let's move ahead now. Time now for slipping into a very short break. But coming up, the Congress government is in Himachal Pradesh, hanging in a balance after internal rebellion. Details when we come back. Welcome back. You're watching Business 360. The big national story. The Congress-led Himachal Pradesh government is facing a crisis. Yesterday, 6 Congress MLAs cross-voted for the BJP Rajya Sabha nominee Harsh Mahajan in what was expected to be a cakewalk for Congress candidate Abhishek Manu Singhvi. Both Mahajan and Manu Singhvi were tied at 34 ballots after 3 independents sided with the BJP as well. The winner was then decided by a draw of lots, which went in Mahajan's favour. This morning, former Chief Minister and BJP leader Jairam Thakur met the governor. There was chaos at the State Assembly as well. The Speaker suspended 15 BJP MLAs. The Sukhu government passed the state budget, even as remaining BJP MLAs staged a walkout. To make matters worse, Vikramaditya Singh, the son of late Veerbhadra Singh, who was a multiple-time Chief Minister and one of the tallest Congress leaders of the state, resigned as a minister. He alleged that the government had humiliated its own legislators on several occasions. The Congress has rushed its senior leaders to the state to manage this situation. Chief Minister Sukhu, meanwhile, asserted that the Congress party will remain in power for the state for its entire term of 5 years.
ना तो मैंने इससे किसी ने इस्तीफा मांगा, ना ही मैंने कोई पेशकश की। पहली बात तो ये है कि मुझे जयराम ठाकुर जी जब सदन में बोल रहे थे तो मुझे किसी ने आकर बताया, मैं तो देखा भी नहीं। हम अपना बहुमत भी साबित करेंगे और निश्चित तौर पर कह सकता हूँ मैं संघर्ष की राजनीति से निकला हूँ और आम परिवार से उठकर हमने राजनीति की है। ये जीत हमारी होगी।
वर्तमान परिस्थिति में मेरा इस सरकार में बने रहना ठीक नहीं है, इसलिए आज मैंने ये निर्णय लिया है that I am resigning from the Council of Ministers। जो विधायकों के साथ कहीं ना कहीं अनदेखी हुई है, कहीं ना कहीं जो विधायकों की आवाज को दबाने की कोशिश की गई है, आज उसका परिणाम है कि हम इस कगार के ऊपर जो है वो खड़े हुए हैं।
Well, the government will be announcing the Q3 GDP data tomorrow, along with some revisions of past years. Lata Venkatesh joining us now with a heads up for that big data point. Lata, give us a sense, what can we expect tomorrow?
Well, actually, the government, or more importantly, the National Statistical Organization, announces the Q3 GDP. As well, it announces a bunch of revisions to previous years. Now, before that, let me present a trivia. Do you know that the government or the NSO announces 6 versions of any 1 year's GDP? The first comes, like, for instance, this year, FY24, The first advance estimates comes in the first week of Jan. The second advance estimate comes on the last day of February, which is tomorrow. Then the first provisional estimate comes on May 31st. After the year ends, that's the first estimate you get. And then first revision comes 11 months later on the last day of February in the following year. The second revision comes 2 years later, that is 1 year and 11 months later. And the third revision comes 2 years and 11 months, or rather 3 years later. So what will we get tomorrow? We are going to get the third revision of FY21, the second revision of FY22, and the first revision of FY23. We will also get the second advance estimate of the current year, FY24. But we will watch out for the Q3 number, which is an established number. You know, it is a past number, the quarter that is over. So let me present the CNBC-TV18 poll. The poll says that we will get a GDP number of 6.7%. This compares with the second quarter, which was very good, 7.6. And a year ago was a very low number, 4.5. Because of the low base itself, we will get a 6.7% number. The composition of this number is expected to be agri, pretty poor at about 1.3, whereas services and industry are expected to give about 7.3%, industry 7.6 and services 7.3. We will also get the full year second advance estimate, like I told you, FY24. There, the CNBC-TV18 poll is expecting only 7.1. But the NSO had given the first advance estimate at 7.3. RBI also almost endorsed this number. But the people I polled still expect it to be only 7.1 because they're expecting a weaker Q4. I must tell you that, you know, there are all previous announcements, that revisions which we spoke about, FY23 first revision, FY22 second revision, and third revision of FY21. If any of those numbers change, then the base effect will also change this number. Currently, the growth rate for FY21 is minus 5.8, for FY22 is 9.1, FY23 is 7.2, and these are the actual real GDP numbers, okay? This is adjusted for inflation. If any of these change in the revision, the base effect will make the current year also look different. So really, everything is up for a guesswork.
Right, Lata, and we'll keep coming back to you for more as the data is unveiled tomorrow. Thanks a lot for breaking down those numbers for us. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Business 360. More news and updates continue right here on CNBC TV 18.